Hey guys, I already took the scales off of this knife to make some gemstone handles for it. And I had a stone in mind, but my wife brought it to my attention that maybe this one would be a little better option. So let's see how this turns out. Let's get to it. So what we use as a glue to glue these scales, the original scales, onto the gemstone is Starbond Thin. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to glue these original scales onto the gemstone to where we desire them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that glue here, put them on the back here. Now, it's almost inevitable that you're going to get this glue on you, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But you definitely want to try not to get it on you as much. And you just want to put some pressure down on it. Try to get it to stick. And then time for the next gemstone. And you want as much as that gemmy part that you can get over it as possible. That's really going to make your knife pop out, stand out. So here we go. Next part. Get as much as that gem color as we can on there. And it's as simple as that, guys. So we'll move on to the next step, which will be cutting these pieces out on a saw. So, as I showed you yesterday, this was the buck knife that we were going to put gemstone scales on. And we've given it 24 hours to cure. We want to try to cut this kind of close to the scales this time, because this is really good gem. But we don't want to cut so close that we ruin the gem itself for the knife. So we'll see what we can do. Wish us luck, but here we go. Alright, so you're going to want to move to the side because there's going to be a lot of water here. So like me, I'm sitting to just a little off to the side here, little cattywampus. So here we go. Alright, and it's as simple as that. And lower, if you don't mind, show my shirt. It is soaked, so you will get soaked if you're using enough water, but that's okay. Just don't do it when it's freezing out, I guess. But what we're going to do is we're going to move on to getting these things to fit the knives flatly before we get them glued onto the knives. So we'll see you then. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take these gemstone scales. We're going to cut them to size to fit this knife here. So I'll see you when we get there. So there we go, we got the first scale on there. This will be a pretty good fit too. So now we're going for the second one. All right, everybody. So we're back with this knife here. We took the scales off, as you can see, and I'm telling you this right now, with that silver and that green, that's going to look amazing. This is going to look fantastic. So here's what we're going to do. We have epoxy 330. We got it mixed up right here. What we're going to do is we're going to put this epoxy 330 over top this knife here. right in this little space here. It holds 2,000 pounds per square inch. So what we're going to do is we're just going to slather that on there. Happy little bonding agent. Once we got it on there nice and thick, what we're going to do is we are going to put our gemstone where it belongs. Right? So we want to make sure we get it in there nice and good. I think it is. Still feel like it is. Now, that should hold there pretty well. And it's going to look pretty good too, if I don't say so myself. There may be a little gap that we'll have to fill in. Again, not a big deal. We'll fix that when we come to it. Let's do some more happy little bonding agent. I'm going to do another little happy little bonding agent here. My wife's over there snickering in the background because a happy little bonding agent. But your hobby should be relaxing, right? Let's not overcomplicate it by getting frustrated. This should be a relaxing time. It should be a fun time for you. You're learning something new. Hopefully you're learning it with me. If not, then hopefully you're enjoying it. Because this is all about having a good time. I like gemstones. Definitely helps mentally. Gemstones do. I can already tell you this one is not going to be so fun right here. It's probably going to crack a little bit, so I may have to adjust the metal of the knife to fit along with it. But that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to set that one aside. So with that aside, we're going to give it about 24 hours to bond. So once it's done bonding, we'll show you what it looks like. You want to come back every now and then because this is a liquidy jelly bond. So it will adjust over time as it settles. So you want to come back, make sure it's adjusting right. Make sure you're getting them in the right position. If not, it's not such a big deal. I'll show you what to do to go over those gaps and stuff like that. So don't fret too much, but you should be mindful. So yeah, we'll see you whenever it's all dry. Here we are with a Chrysophrase knife here. What we're going to do is we're going to preform it and get it to that third wheel over there, that black wheel on the right. So let's go ahead and get this started. Put your mask on. I always want to wear a mask for safety reasons. So let's get this going. got her starting to look nice and neat, nice and well put together. What we're going to do is we're going to take her inside and we're going to see how this is kind of loose here. We want to make sure there's nothing wrong with that. So we're going to look inside there, and if there's anything in between that spring and that lock bar, we're going to try to get that away from it. But other than that, she looks like she's pretty much ready to go. And she's closing pretty good. I think it's just a tape. But we'll still go in there and check her out, make sure she's all good. And that's just literally taking some high pressure water and running it through there. So I'm not even going to show that. But yeah, we're going to go in there, we're going to put some glue in some of the spots that need glue. So between the stone and the knife, if there's any spot we can see that's a gap, we'll do that. If not, we'll just bring it back out here probably tomorrow and pick up where we left off and finish that off. Do some sanding after that. We'll sand the blade down, so when we put a polish on the blade too, it's nice and smooth and shiny. So we will see you when we get back inside. Howdy y'all. So I said we were going to take a look at this and see any gaps that need to be filled in, anything like that. And I don't really see anything that needs to be touched up on this knife too much. There are a few tiny gaps that'll require a little bit of glue, so we'll go ahead and do that now. But it is not a lot at all. So we're going to take the star bond here. We're just gonna put them in that little gap there. So it's in that gap. Rotate it down like that. And I'm just going to keep manipulating the blade just to make sure that nothing gets stuck in that lock bar or that spring. You definitely don't want nothing getting stuck in between the lock bar and spring. That's a big no-no. So here we go. I'm going to let that sit like that, and I'm going to turn it upside down real quick. Now, why am I doing that, you may ask? Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. Again, we don't want this. We don't want the glue to go into the internal components of the knife. We just want it to fill in those little gaps between the stone and the knife itself, if that makes sense. So any internal components that we can kind of get out of there without having to dig into or mess with, all the better for this right now. And I will absolutely leave a knife with a gap in it before I go and screw up the whole knife, because I believe that is responsible to do, instead of just going, well, I'm going to obsess over it until I correct it. And trust me, the old me would have done that relentlessly. So as long as there's still a lot of tension on that, I think we're doing pretty good. Now it's starting to fill up those gaps already. And I keep running my finger over it with this glove, and that's just to kind of dry the excess so it doesn't kind of just squirt or squirm around the knife so much. We want it to fill in the gaps. We don't want it to fill in anything that's unnecessary. Now, I'm hoping that with that last little squeeze right there, that'll fill in that little gap enough to where we ain't got to worry about it no more. Or at least on that side. Starting to see some silver shine through. That's because that stuff is still settling in. So we're going to give it its full chance here. And perfect time. Just like this, we see a little piece that's kind of hanging out right there. We're gonna flatten that out. We're gonna flatten that out. But for the most part, this knife looks pretty much ready, except for that gap right there. And once I grind it down, it'll be non-noticeable anymore. And I'm pretty happy with it so far. This knife is turning out to be probably one of my favorites, just because of the color and everything. I'm a huge green fan. So we're going to keep doing this until it's fully covered. But it looks like we'll be there. Just to make sure. If you feel any stiffness between your lock bar and your spring inside your internal workings, you kind of want to just take this and put it in some acetone right where their lock bar is. So just below this is the lock bar. It sits in here. You want to sit it in some acetone in just that part, and see if you can't get that to loosen back up, because if not, you're going to have a knife that hangs. So what that means is you're going to have your knife, you're going to close it up. Whenever you close it up, it's going to droop out. So this part of the blade here, right here, is going to be closed up, and then you hold it like this and it's going to go and droop out. And that's because there's no tension holding it closed. There's something in between there blocking it. For lack of a better word, I am no expert in the matter. I've been doing this for about, I want to say 3 months now, maybe a little longer. I did my first practice knife in July, like late July. And then I did my first real deal, I'm looking forward to this kind of knife, in middle August. But so far it's been pretty good. I've enjoyed it, and it's been fun, and now I get to talk to y'all and meet y'all. And then I hope some of y'all from TikTok come and follow us over here and have a great time. But I feel like we can build a better community here than we could at TikTok. Little 60-minute videos or 60-second videos do not sound fun to me. Plus, I guess it also is because I'm from the YouTube generation. So, but looks like it's filling it in pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit there right there, and we will talk to y'all tomorrow. And hopefully what we'll do is we'll sand down the blade. We'll get the stone finished, sanded, and we'll finish this knife up tomorrow, hopefully. So, thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you tomorrow when this is all done and dry. Alright, so if you remember this knife, we took it inside and to get it glued up so it fills in the seams. It's looking pretty good so far. So let's go ahead and get this thing polished up and ready for the cerium oxide wheel. Alright, so that's what we got right now. We're going to take this to the cerium oxide wheel and get them polished up on cerium oxide. Then we'll take it inside the house and sand the metal down, get some of these imperfections out of it. And then we'll sand up the blade, polish it up, and it'll be ready to go. Alright, so we're going to polish this up with the cerium oxide here. So let's go ahead and get that going. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our mask on. We're going to use our cerium oxide on this stone and blade here, or stone and metal here. So what we're going to do is we're going to give that a nice good polish. You want to put your mask on, safety first, obviously. You don't want to die of silicosis. It's a horrible thing to go through. Alright, so we got a generous amount of cerium oxide paste on there. What we want to do is we want to spray this down and just run the mouth, mainly the stone, over this felt wheel with cerium oxide. This top here on here, get the front and back. Alright, so there's your knife so far. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these inside and sand down the metal here, make sure there's no imperfections, and then after that we're going to sand down the blade so it takes a nice good polish, and yeah, then we'll be done and we can do the big reveal. Alright everybody, so this little knife is turning out to be quite a beautiful little knife. Love the Chrysophrase in it. Really looking cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this blue painter's tape off of it. And what we're going to do is, you see those deep kind of striations in the blade, you see and all that? We're going to sand all that out. We're going to start at 150. We're just going to move our hands along like this, along the back there, until you get it all out. We're going to move all the way up to a 600 grit. So it'll be probably be about 150, 240, 400, and then 600 grit. And then we'll take it to the buffing wheel and we'll buff it out, and she should be done. So I'll show you that once we're done. I'll show you that once we're done sanding. I like to kind of sit down and watch TV and stuff like that while I sand. It's pretty relaxing. So yeah, see you whenever it's done. Alright, so this little knife has went through quite a journey. The Chrysophrase handles look good. Everything looks good so far. There's two last things we need to do. It's buff it up on these wheels, and then we need to get it ready for its final reveal by cleaning it up with some soap and water. So here we go. Alright, now that we're done with that side, we're going to move over to this side and do some zam.
But the last thing we're going to do is we're going to polish it up with the super finish from Xera. Alright, and that's it. We're going to take this thing, get it cleaned up, and get it ready for the final reveal. We'll see you there.
Like I told you, the results are amazing. We're really happy with the knife. Turned out really good. Other than my fingerprints getting on it right now. But definitely a beautiful knife. Like I told you guys, all the hard effort that we put in the knife really made it look amazing. I'm super excited about this one. The Chrysophrase with the silver nickel really looks good. The buck knife, the blade itself really looks good. We're just super excited about it, and we're super excited that y'all joined us for this one. Please like and follow if you haven't liked and followed. That helps us out a lot. And look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.